Here's something strange. You've never once met a person who actually has it figured out. Not one. But somehow, you still believe everyone else does. Think about the last time you walked into a room full of people. A meeting, a party, a new job, a classroom. Everyone looked calm. Everyone looked like they belonged there. Everyone seemed to know exactly what to say, how to stand, when to laugh. And you were the only one quietly thinking, do I look as lost as I feel right now? You smiled. You nodded. You said the normal things. But underneath, there was this quiet, background hum of doubt. A feeling like you were performing a version of Put Together while the real you was backstage, checking the script, hoping nobody noticed you were improvising the whole thing. Here's the part that should stop you for a second. Almost everyone in that room felt exactly the same way. The confident-looking coworker, the relaxed-looking friend, the stranger who seemed so sure of themselves at the party. Most of them were also backstage, checking their own script. You just couldn't see it, because you can only see one person's inside, your own, and you can see everyone else's outside. That's the whole trick. That's the whole illusion. Your brain has access to two completely different kinds of information, and it doesn't treat them equally. For yourself, you get the raw footage. Every doubt, every awkward pause you replay at 2 a.m., every half-finished thought, every moment you didn't know what to say, every small failure that nobody else even noticed. For other people, you only get the highlight reel, the version they chose to show you, the calm face, the steady voice, the parts they let out into the world after quietly editing out the mess behind it. So you end up comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's final cut. Of course you lose that comparison. Everyone loses that comparison. It's not a fair fight, and it was never supposed to be one. Psychologists have a name for the piece of this that never seems to go away. It's called pluralistic ignorance. It's when a group of people privately doubt something, but publicly act like they don't, because each person assumes they're the only one who doubts it. A classroom full of students, all confused by the same lecture, all silent, all assuming they're the only one who didn't get it. A meeting full of adults, all unsure about a decision, all nodding, all assuming everyone else understands something they don't. Nobody's lying exactly. They're just performing certainty they don't actually feel, because they think that's what everyone else has. And the strange part is, this creates a loop. Your uncertainty makes you act certain, which makes someone else feel like they're the only uncertain one, which makes them act certain too. Everyone is quietly performing for an audience that is equally unsure, an audience that is, in turn, performing for them. It's a room full of people convincing each other that everyone else is fine. There's another layer to this, and it's about time, not just people. You don't just compare yourself to other people's outsides. You compare yourself to their edited outsides at their best moment. Social media made this worse, but it didn't invent it. Even before phones, people told stories about the parts of their life that worked out. The job they landed, the relationship that seems easy, the plan that came together. Nobody tells the story of the 3 years before that, when they had no idea what they were doing either. So you're not just comparing your raw footage to someone else's highlight reel. You're comparing your right now to their years later. That gap feels like proof that they had some kind of clarity you're missing. They didn't. They just didn't show you the part where they didn't have it either. There's also something happening with memory here. Your own confusion feels vivid and recent because you're living inside it right now. But other people's confusion, if you ever did see it, gets filed away and forgotten quickly because it wasn't your confusion. It didn't cost you anything to watch. So your brain keeps a detailed running log of every time you felt lost, and barely a footnote for every time you saw someone else look lost. The math was rigged from the start. Here's the part that changes how this whole thing looks. The feeling of everyone else knows what they're doing isn't a sign that you're behind. It's a sign that you're paying close attention to your own inner experience, which is the one thing a person can actually see clearly. The people who seem the most certain, the most figured out, a lot of the time, they're not more clear. They're just less aware of their own confusion, or better at hiding it, or younger in a way that hasn't been tested yet. Certainty isn't the same as competence. Sometimes it's the opposite. The most confident person in the room is often the one who hasn't yet noticed how much they don't know. There's a strange kind of comfort in that, if you sit with it. The self-doubt you feel isn't proof that you're doing life wrong. It might be proof that you're doing it awake, that you're actually noticing the gaps, the uncertainty, the parts that don't come with instructions, because nobody's life comes with instructions. The people who have it together usually just started performing calm earlier than you did. Not because they solved something, because at some point they decided the performance was worth more than the honesty. You've been comparing your honesty to their performance. That's the whole misunderstanding, right there. So here's the truth, without the polish. Nobody knows what they're doing. Not the calm-looking one at the party. Not the co-worker who never seems rattled. Not the person whose life looks finished from the outside. They're all improvising too. They're just better at hiding the backstage. You were never behind everyone else. You were just the only person in the room honest enough to notice.